That's a wrap on another NASCAR season. The 22 gets it done in 22. Joey Logano is once again your NASCAR Cup Series champion. One of the track workers just came by, said he was a fan, and handed me this awesome NASCAR Championship Weekend sign. What the heck? The perks of doing this show on location, I guess. The surprises, if you will. But yes, how's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. Coming to you live, well, actually recorded from Avondale, Arizona. Beautiful Phoenix Raceway. The sun has set over the turns 1 and 2 grandstands right here. The lights around this 1 mile track are really what's keeping me illuminated at this point. We've got a lot to get to tonight, but I feel like we need to begin by acknowledging the tragic news that the entire NASCAR world received just minutes before engines were fired today. Sadly, last night, Coy Gibbs, the father of Ty Gibbs and the son of Joe Gibbs, passed away the same night that he got to experience his son Ty winning the NASCAR Xfinity Series Championship. That's why Ty Gibbs did not race in today's Cup Series race. That was the family emergency that was initially reported. I can't personally imagine what Ty must be going through, what Joe Gibbs must be going through, the entire family. I can't possibly imagine. Very, very sad situation, and you could tell that was weighing on really the entire industry today. I was standing outside the 2311 haulers while they were assessing the situation, when they were trying to figure out who was going to drive that car today, and it was just heavy. It was a very heavy atmosphere. You could tell it was weighing on the thoughts of especially the Toyota, the Joe Gibbs Racing drivers today, but really the entire garage. So whatever you may think of Ty Gibbs, I know it wasn't a fan favorite win last night in the Xfinity race. I hope everyone's thinking about the Gibbs family and sending them their prayers, best wishes. Truly just, like I said, an unimaginable tragedy. And so I want to begin this video by sort of taking a moment to acknowledge that, because I feel like no one's gonna be able to look back at this day without first thinking about that sad moment. So with that being said, a Cup race did happen today. A Cup Series champion was crowned. Joey Logano. I guess let's just start with Joey Logano. He now joins Kyle Busch as the only two active two-time NASCAR Cup Series champions. That is, at least until Jimmy Johnson comes back on a part-time schedule next year and brings all 7 of his trophies with him. But right now it's Joey and Kyle. And quite frankly, Joey Logano and Team Penske, and I have to watch what I say because about 50 feet this way, the entire 22 team is sort of celebrating and also taking out their pit stall. The 22 was the best team today. Penske, between Logano and Blaney's number 12 car, they showed up this weekend. They had an extra couple weeks to prepare. Logano did. And, yesterday, after qualifying, I believe, Paul Wolfe came in the media center and talked about how important it was that they were able to bounce notes off of Blaney and his team as well, because they were fast. Those two cars finished 1-2. They were the class of the field. Blaney might have honestly been a little better than Logano, but he showed him a lot of respect and showed restraint at the end there, knowing Logano was racing for the championship. But that's really all you can say. Joey Logano and the 22 team were the best of the championship for today. It really wasn't that close. I thought Christopher Bell maybe had something for him on the long run, like during that final cycle of green flag stops when Bell's short pit came out right behind Logano. I thought that was the perfect strategy. If this race had gone green to the end, I think Bell would have been in contention, perhaps, but it didn't. Of course, Bell had a bad pit stop. Chastain tried to work his way towards the front, but never really got close enough to challenge Joey Logano. So really, that's all I can say. Congrats to Joey Logano and Team Penske. They were the best driver and team today. And I know this is a season-long championship, or at least that's how it's awarded. And when we look at the numbers, and I know the numbers don't always tell the full story, but Joey Logano was one of the top several drivers this season. This was his 4th win of the season. The only driver with more wins was Chase Elliott with 5. But you throw in Logano's Clash victory to begin the season, I mean, Joey Logano was quietly elite all season long. It's like we didn't really talk about Penske because, Blaney didn't win any points races this year. Cindric won the Daytona 500 and didn't win anything else. Meanwhile, all the Hendrick drivers are winning. 2311 won a couple races. And early in the year, we were talking all about Chevrolet. Trackhouse with Chastain and Suarez. Wow, look at all this speed. RCR with Reddick. Anytime he wasn't breaking the first, few races there or getting wrecked at the Bristol Dirt Race, he was in contention to win. He was leading a bunch of laps. Chase Briscoe broke through here back in March and got a win. Then Kevin Harvick at the end of the summer. Both Ford teams, but not Penske teams, doing some spectacular things. I feel like Penske kind of flew under the radar. They're one of the top 3 teams in the Cup Series every single year, yet this season, for some reason, maybe this is just my perspective, maybe many of you will say, no, we've talked about Penske plenty, what are you talking about? But it feels like, to me, we didn't give Team Penske enough respect or enough attention, I should say, especially during these playoffs. Logano won 2 races. You look around, Bell won twice, Chase Elliott only won once, Chastain didn't win at all in these final 10 weeks. Quietly, Joey Logano was one of the most dominant drivers this year, and Team Penske, with those extra 2 weeks to prepare, that's the advantage when you win early in the round of 8, they were unstoppable today. So credit to Joey Logano and Team Penske for putting together a fantastic weekend. They really never put a wheel wrong. They didn't make any mistakes. They sat on the pole. They were fast in practice. Meanwhile, their rivals all made big mistakes at some point or another today. Chase Elliott, obviously the spin we'll talk about in a moment. Ross Chastain, they kind of played the fuel strategy wrong. They had to kind of back way off in the middle of stage 2 there and lose a few extra spots, cost them some valuable track position, and then Bell's team with the bad pit stop there towards the end. So 22 team eliminated the mistakes, and they're your champions. The biggest moment of this race was no doubt the restart where Chase Elliott and Ross Chastain, 2 championship contenders, championship 4 drivers, got together right here in this dogleg just off camera. That incident effectively ended Chase Elliott's championship hopes. To me, Ross Chastain did exactly what everyone in the garage, in the grandstands, in the infield, what everyone would expect Ross Chastain to do in that situation. He just didn't lift. He didn't turn Chase Elliott. He held his line. Chase Elliott came down. Elliott didn't realize the run Chastain had. Everyone fans out. Chase thought he could get a little lower, a little closer to that inside wall, shortcut the corner just a tiny bit more, and whoop, Ross Chastain was there. Maybe not communicated by the spotter. Chase Elliott maybe didn't notice it in the rearview mirror. An honest mistake, and I'm not going to say Chase Elliott deserved to get wrecked, but I can't put any significant amount of blame on Ross Chastain for that. That was the most true to character move we've seen from Ross Chastain in quite some time. He just didn't lift. He didn't turn right up into Chase Elliott and clean him out. He just held his line. He had a run. He got that position. He got to the inside of Chase Elliott, and Elliott came down. There are some drivers in the field today, probably many drivers in the field today, that would have lifted. Maybe would have turned down and given Elliott some room, a chance to sort of feel his car out. But Ross Chastain is not and has never been that driver. So there's some, situational awareness that need to be in play there. Chase Elliott and his spotter need to know that that's Ross Chastain behind you. Maybe don't go all the way to the inside if you know Ross Chastain is the guy right behind you. Again, it sucks that basically ended Chase Elliott's season because, it was a fairly harmless move. Again, I don't think he did anything egregious. He didn't deserve to get wrecked, but he did turn left across Ross Chastain's nose, and Chastain just held his line and didn't lift. I can't say I blame him. It's late in a championship race. That's one of your contenders. A few of y'all tweeted this at me, and I don't know if I fully agree with this mindset, this perspective, but I think it's a valid one. If you're Ross Chastain right there, you're thinking, hey, here's a freebie. I don't have to do anything. I can just let one of my top rivals make a mistake. If this was the 7th race of the season, Chastain maybe gives him some space, but this is the championship, and he had an opportunity there to, I don't like to use this word, this sounds aggressive, but dispatch one of his top rivals. I don't blame Chastain for holding his line. It just sucks that it ended Chase Elliott's day. I don't think he deserved that either. Chase Elliott, when asked multiple times about the incident, really would not engage. He just kept saying that, ready for next year, happy that his team had a good season. And at one point he did say that the move was disappointing, but it was more disappointing, he said, because it ended their day. Chase Elliott's day, effectively. So, I don't know. That's my take on that whole incident. That was the biggest moment of this race. The second biggest moment was probably when Christopher Bell's pit crew had that 20-second pit stop during the final cycle of yellow flag stops. He went in right behind Joey Logano. Joe Gibbs Racing pit crew's usually on it, usually extremely sharp. And just a mistake, just an issue on this stop. Bad luck, just poor execution. I guess we don't know for sure. There was obviously a lot of pressure and a lot of, distractions going on over at Toyota and Joe Gibbs Racing today. So I don't want to pile on the pit crew, but that did end Christopher Bell's championship hopes. Again, before that, he was right there with Logano. Maybe had something for him. Back in 15th place, there's no chance to make up that amount of track position in the closing laps. Still a valiant effort for Christopher Bell and for Ross Chastain, who ends up second in the championship battle, third on the racetrack. He was He was closing on Blaney and Logano in the closing laps, but I think that was just Logano and Blaney sandbagging. I don't know that Blaney had anything for Logano there, but to me, he was probably just playing defense again, showing his teammates some respect, knowing that they're racing for the championship. He was there in case Chastain did get close. He could sort of just race him hard and make things difficult for the one team. So overall, just another pretty straightforward championship race here at Phoenix Raceway. This is the third year now in a row that the championship has been held out here in the desert. I feel like I'm just going to say the same thing I say every year at this point. I love this venue. I know you guys can't see it, but the whole infield experience, arguably the best on the schedule. Grandstands were packed. More than 40,000 people here today. What is that, dinner in the sky thing? Had people on it all day. There's a ton of fans I saw over on Rattlesnake Hill. I was here last year, and I don't feel like I remember seeing as many people packed onto that hillside last season. So this venue is fantastic. The racetrack itself is not great. It's good, but I don't know that it's championship venue good. Like, it doesn't quite know if it wants to be a short track, and if it is a short track, it's like the Richmond of short tracks, or if it's an intermediate, like a Gateway or a Loudon. It's an in-between track, which I like. I like that it's very unique in that respect, but it just does not race well. NASCAR is going to come back here next year. I don't know. They probably will come back here again in 2024. Maybe the next TV deal they'll consider changing. Some have speculated, and I think it's actually probably a decent speculation that if the Auto Club short track project ever gets completed, that maybe they'll finish the season out in the Los Angeles area. I think that's probably valid speculation. I like this track though, and I feel bad that the last 3 years they've had to spray a ton of PJ1 and stuff or resin both sides of the track. This weekend I don't think they sprayed anything in turns 1 and 2, so that was a little different. But now this year they had to deal with the next gen, which has not run well at short ovals all season long. This was not a Phoenix issue. We saw this issue at just about every short flat oval this season. So I hate to crucify Phoenix Raceway for not putting on an absolute barn burner when really no other short ovals have this year, at least not consistently. So great venue, fans were awesome, race was okay, and to be honest, that's okay with me. I don't really want my championship race to be chaos. And I don't always like using that word because I think it's very overused in the NASCAR sphere. But I want the championship to be fairly straightforward. I want the fastest 2 or 3 drivers and cars to settle things at the end. I don't want a crazy string of cautions, people dive bombing the final corner, taking the fastest cars out. I want to see a fairly straightforward race where the best equipment, the best drivers, the best strategies, where they get to shine. And I do feel like the last couple of years at Phoenix, that's been the case. Like last year, you had Martin Truex Jr., great at the short ovals all year, leading late. It was a late race caution and a flawless pit stop by Kyle Larson's team, who had a great pit crew all season long, that got him the trophy. This year, Joey Logano. They were the fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, fastest in the race. There were moments where maybe his race was in doubt, but I'm glad ultimately that the most deserving, the fastest driver, fastest team, best executing team, I'm glad they won the championship. I'm okay with some chaos in the playoffs here and there, some in the regular season to keep things interesting, but I don't really want chaos in my championship race. I'll just be honest. Anyway, let's put this race on the groovy gauge. I'm going to give this race an even 50%. It was okay. It was fine. I think one thing that held this race back, especially compared to previous Championship 4 events, was the fact that the Championship 4 were never really racing together. There was one point early on in the race where you had Bell, Chastain, and Elliott 3 wide just after a restart, racing hard, I think making a little bit of contact with each other, but they were doing that for 8th place. Logano was long gone. He had like a 3-second lead already at that point. So we never had a moment where all 4 were up front 2 rows on a restart, racing each other directly off pit road at the end. We never had that moment. And I do think that holds this race back a little bit. And for me, one of the championship guys was wrecked out 2/3 of the way through. So the fact that we never got that moment maybe holds this race back slightly for me. And then the typical issues we kind of sort of addressed, hard to pass, next gen car struggling at these shorter flat ovals. I was encouraged to hear Steve O'Donnell just a couple days ago during the State of the Sport address, say straight up that, hey, we are going to look at and try to work on and adjust on this package for next season. Happy to hear that. Hope something actually comes out of it. It was an okay race. It was fine. Let me know what kind of score you would give this race down in the comment section below. I gotta say, I love the Cup Series Championship Trophy. This is the same design they've had since Monster Energy was the title sponsor, and that's the one, probably my favorite part of the Monster Energy Cup Series era was the design of their trophy. I'm glad that's stuck. I think it looks really, really cool. I think it's one of the cooler looking trophies in sports. So anyway, I think that's gonna do it. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I Truly appreciate all the support. I did film a short video yesterday during the Xfinity race documenting my experience as a primary sponsor of a race car. So hopefully I'll be able to share that with you guys sometime later this week. I'll be heading back home here in just a day or two. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll make it home in time for the Astros championship parade, but oh well, it is what it is. It may be the off season now for NASCAR, but it's not the off season for Out of the Groove. We'll have plenty of content coming your way over the course of the next couple of months. That's going to do it for now, though, for me here at Phoenix Raceway. Thank you so much for watching. I love how when I started this video, it was still kind of daylight out there. Now it's pitch black. Crazy stuff. I know this video is probably like 15 minutes long. I've actually been out here for 45. Why did I look at my phone? I have a watch on. I never have a watch on when I film these. Been out here for like 45 minutes. Have to keep pausing for sweepers going by or helicopters landing or crew members yelling and hollering and cheering. So anyway, I love doing these at the racetrack. I love being at the racetrack. I'm already looking forward to February, quite honestly. Thanks for watching, y'all. Safe travels.